Good afternoon. I have the honor and the pleasure to host the event that the EIF is organizing today devoted to innovation. First of all, let me to greet and thank Commissioner Mariya Gabriel for accepting our invitation to join us. Commissioner Gabriel, as you know, is Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth. He's also first Vice President of the European People's Party and of the EPP Women, and was a former Commissioner for Digital Economy and a former colleague in the European Parliament. So who better than Mariya Gabriel to discuss with us the future of innovation. We will engage in a dialogue with Commissioner Mariya Gabriel around the importance of reinforcing the European innovation ecosystems in Europe and the main initiatives and the main instruments and fund mechanisms that the Commission is planning to put in place these innovation ecosystems. Commissioner Gabriel is a crusader for research and innovation. She's pushing hard to revive the European research area and to create a European innovation area to pave the way to establish a pan-European ecosystem for innovation, whilst she's working hard to close the different innovation gaps that still exist in Europe, from the gender to the geographical gap. The challenge that we have in front of us requires full commitment of all the policymakers and stakeholders to put innovation at the center of the transition that is planned in Europe, the greener and digital transition. Without breakthrough technologies, many of the targets that we have already set out or that we are now planning to set out, for example, in the Fit for 55 package, without research and breakthrough technology, these targets are probably out of reach. We are assisting to a rapid change in the innovation landscape. Innovation is a complex and non-linear phenomenon, and its nature is passing from local to more and more global. Today, we are going to talk of these and other trends, and I do not want to steal more time for the dialogue that I am eager to start with Commissioner Gabriel. But first, Maria Rosa, Director of EIF, will be our moderator today, and I will pass the floor first to Maria for a minute to explain us the setup, the setting of the event, and immediately after we will start with the dialogue with the Commissioner. Maria Rosa.
Good evening, everyone. Many thanks to MEP Maria Carvalho for hosting this event at the EIF, and welcome back to our forum to Commissioner Gabriel. It is a great pleasure to have you with us once again. Indeed, after a first exchange with Commissioner Gabriel, we will be joined on our virtual stage by some of our MEPs who have already tuned in, including EIF Chair Pilar del Castillo, Sabine Verheyen, Victor Negrescu, Eva Kaili, and also our graphic designer will be following the conversations from the backstage and will capture the highlights in a visual, which we will show you all at the end. I will now leave the floor to MEP Maria Carvalho and Commissioner Mariya Gabriel for this first dialogue.
Thank you very much, Maria Rosa. So I have, we have decided together with the Commissioner Gabriel that instead of a speech, we will do a dialogue with some questions and answers, and I'm pleased to put some questions to Commissioner Mariya Gabriel. The first one that I want to ask is that for a long time that the EU doesn't have a plan for innovation. The latest plan for innovation dates back in 2010, the Innovation Union at the time. That this was in certain way, including in the Europe 2020 strategy, that was the political agenda at that time. Was President Rosa and Commissioner Gabriel that set this innovation union. But things have changed a lot since then. They have changed political and have changed also in terms of research and innovation. From the technological side, we have seen a third wave of innovation with digital startups, and we are at the verge of the fourth wave of innovation with the deep tech startups. And also in the political side, the Europe 2020 strategy has been replaced by the present Commission priorities, that at the center of these priorities we have the twin transition, the Green Deal and the digital transition. What are the components of this new innovation agenda that is going to replace the Innovation Union, that will reflect this change, the change that have happened both in the technical landscape and also in the political side? Commissioner Gabriel.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Maria, for this first question. Just I would like to say big thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with all of you at European Internet Forum. As always, your debates are pertinent and very future-oriented. So on this first question, indeed, the latest European innovation strategy is from 2010 and needs somehow an urgent update. And here I prefer to talk about an innovation agenda for Europe, because we have enough strategies. Rather focus on an innovation agenda for Europe with clear directions, milestone and work packages. Now it's our priority. And if I have to resume what are the main novelties, maybe there is 7. First, the approach. Our approach is a new pan-European innovation ecosystem approach. Previous approach was centered around transfer of research results and financing support. And the new approach is focused on facilitation and support bottom-up collaboration among private and public actors. The second, if I may, the target constituency. Because here what we would like to see is on to support the next generation of innovators and pioneers, startups, investors, accelerators, universities, with, of course, a special emphasis on women. In the past, innovation was moving around large corporates, research labs. Those times are over, and innovation comes now from a diversity of sources: startups, students, civil society. The third novelty is the type of innovation. We are talking about the fourth wave of innovation centered on deep tech startups, here contributing to the sustainable development goals. So moving from digital innovations that for sure have made our life easier to hardware and digital innovations that will find solutions to the problems related to energy, construction, agriculture, or food. The fourth novelty is somehow the implementation. We would like to combine programs, from cohesion programs to Horizon Europe to Erasmus+, from European level to national to regional level. That's this beautiful word synergy that we are using, but it's really time to transform it into something more operational. The fifth novelty is that we'll make choices based on our competitive advantages: education system, science performance, and industries related to hardware. I think that we should stop to lose our time to make copies and really to use our strengths in order to affirm our European leadership. Sixth novelty is that will include all sources of innovation. As I already said it, from students in the university to researchers in labs to the civil society in hackathons. And finally, this innovation agenda for Europe will include directionality-oriented policy interventions. It will explicitly contribute to tackling societal challenges defined as priority in the current Commission, from the twin transitions to demographics and to economy that works for all. I try to be very brief, Maria.
Thank you very much. With a very systematic approach for the innovation agenda, European innovation agenda. I would like to focus on the concept of ecosystem. We have seen the emergence of the new class of innovation ecosystem, but in some of the European policies, for example, in the industrial strategy, we see the concept of very vertical sectorial ecosystems. For example, they have 14 priority areas, 14 industrial ecosystems. But you have been talking of a more transversal approach. So a more horizontal approach for the innovation ecosystem. So how do you see this new kind of innovation ecosystem that in certain way makes the link with the more vertical ones, that is this transversal innovation ecosystem that I think that is very important to complement the vertical approach. We really need a transversal horizontal approach to complement this more vertical approach that is, for example, in the industrial strategy. Commissioner.
Indeed, Maria. In the past, innovation was driven by collaboration between big industry, large research labs based on these vertically integrated industrial ecosystems, and industrial ecosystems that are along the value chain of each industrial sector. And the industrial ecosystems include all the actors of the value chain, but here we can see that in the last 20 years, we have seen the emergence of a new kind of ecosystem, innovation ecosystem. And innovation ecosystems include all the innovation actors from startups to investors to accelerators or ecosystems builders. And innovation ecosystems are horizontal by design and can contribute to advances in more than one industrial ecosystem. And I think that here what is again important for us is to identify our strength and to see what are the innovation ecosystems that we have in Europe and that are around scientific or technological domains like artificial intelligence, on quantum. And all these areas can potentially contribute to more than one industry. And that's why we need strong industrial ecosystems closely linked to the new innovation ecosystem. And we need to ensure that the industrial alliances benefit from direct links to the horizontal European innovation ecosystem. And here I must say that for me is a firm intention that the new innovation ecosystems in the area of deep tech startups are linked to the industry. And as a consequence, we should see in the future innovative solutions that will help our industries become more competitive. And at the same time, yes, to see them how they can solve the main challenges of our time, energy, construction techniques, or agricultural methods. And I think that, again, here the 14 industrial ecosystems and their alliances should work closely with the new pan-European innovation ecosystem. And as important is as what we want to build is how. And here I must say that I prefer to follow a bottom-up approach where the new generation of innovators are the main drivers. And that's why, Maria, that now for many months, I wanted to give to the new generation of innovators the floor. And that's why we started to be with dedicated meetings with the group of unicorns, with the ecosystem leaders, with the venture capital women group. And my intention is really to continue to co-create together with them, together with Knowledge for Innovation platform too, because I think that if you'd like to change our approach, the best way it's not to impose something new, but to listen to them and together to co-create and after to co-implement. That's why after receiving all the reports coming from these different groups, actually together with my team, we are analyzing very carefully all their recommendations in order very soon to present what are the next steps.
Just a comment, I think that will be very nice also to implement the transversal horizontal innovation ecosystem in the European Commission structure that will help. Let's talk about the innovation gaps. And one of the important innovation gaps in Europe is the gender gap. And this, I know that is something very dear to you, also to me. So we have done a lot of improvements in the research. We have many women all over Europe in research, but on entrepreneurship, innovation, the gap is bigger. Also on digital, we still have a large gap, a gender gap. Which are your plans to increase the presence of women in innovation ecosystem, from startups, SMEs, investors? What are your plans, Commissioner?
Well, indeed, there is a lack of women representation at all levels when it comes to innovation aspect, at the level of founders and CEOs of startups, investors, venture capital funds and companies. Just to number, in the area of women CEOs of innovative companies, only 1.7% of all capital went to startups founded exclusively by women, and 7.5% to mixed teams of founders. So we definitely need to change this situation. But I don't have any miracle solution or big strategy. I believe in the motto lead by example, having small actions but with bigger added value, and that's why we'll continue to use all our programs in order to help women and to innovate. Just examples. You know that I already have the initiative Women Tech EU for deep tech women startups. They have now a dedicated budget. Our intention is first to support 50 deep tech startups with 75,000 euros. But of course, here our intention is to multiply their budget and of course to have a critical mass of women-led companies in this deep tech wave of innovation. The second, for sure, we need to address the issue of girls in STEM and STEAM. I prefer really to talk about this. And that's why we have here a new dedicated action in the Digital Education Action Plan. We decided together with the European Institute of Innovation and Technology to offer for 40,000 girls training on artificial intelligence, on big data, entrepreneurial skills. And of course, the third example is the European Innovation Council, because now what we decide is that the number of women-led applicants to the EIC will be increased to 40% of all applicants reaching the interview phase. Remember what's happened when we decided to have at least 25%. Before, there were only 7-8% of women-led companies funded by EIC. And when we took the decision to have at least 25% of women accessing to interviews, attention, excellence is always our main principle. In only 5 months, the number of women-led companies funded by EIC was 29% and not anymore 7%. And here I must say that we'll continue to support them. Of course, we need to continue to give more visibility and recognition to our European women innovators. And that's why, of course, we'll continue with our awards like the EIT Women Award or the Women Innovator Award, because for sure we need to build women role models on innovation for the future generations. And my intention is that in this framework of the European Innovation Agenda, the Pan-European Innovation Ecosystem, we continue together with the group of women to promote specific actions to ensure that the representation of women in the innovation ecosystem increases.
Thank you, Commissioner. Another point that is very important is that there is no innovation without talent and a strong education system. How do you see the role of higher education institutions in the pan-European innovation ecosystem that you are advocating for?
Of course, they have a crucial role to play, and I see universities as engines of innovation, of regional innovation too. because yes, it's true that the latest analysis of the innovation ecosystem across the world highlights that the two main factors for having startups and unicorns are first, access to the right level of talent, and second, the quality of the education system. And it's clear that talented individuals are the key element for any innovation ecosystem. And in my view, talent is more important than financial capital for growth. And here, contrary to the past, capital follows where the talent is and not the other way around. And of course, higher education institutions are essential. That's why, for me, it's so important to continue to co-create our European strategy for universities, because we would like to see how we can help our universities to strengthen their capacity to support entrepreneurship and innovation. And in the framework of the European education area, of course, I will pay a lot of attention about the future development of our European Universities Alliances. They are supposed to be test bed for our universities of the future. And remember that more than 1 year we decided to make a transfer, additional funding for every single alliance that expressed the wish in order to integrate research and innovation in their work. So for me, it's really important what will be the results after the end of this first pilot phase, the first 3 years, but definitely we see our universities as engines of innovation in their region, in their member states for Europe. One concrete example about the capacity of innovation of our higher education institutions. We know that together with the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, we launched a pilot project about the capacity of innovation. And I must say that the first results are quite encouraging. Now it will be up to them to tell us what are the main challenges, what are the good solutions, and of course to see how we can integrate already these good practices or possible solutions in the European strategy for universities. But again, here, what is really important, it's always to think about universities in all other policies. And you know certainly that actually we are advancing with the European research area, the Pact for Research Innovation, the Forum for Transition, and it's clear that universities have strong voice here. That's an ongoing work. That's something that we don't think spontaneously sometimes, but believe me, together with my team, we really try always to show in action what we are saying about the knowledge triangle: research, education, innovation together in the service of the society. That's the best way to achieve better results.
Commissioner, my last question is about the diversity, and the sources of innovation are very diverse now. Much more diverse than before, when was focused from research, and from research we had the knowledge transfer into innovation. The new sources of innovation come from social innovation, creative and cultural areas. Therefore, many think that we should use research, education, culture, and innovation instead of research, technological development, and innovation. You have the right portfolio to address this question. How do you see this evolution, and how do you see the synergies between the mechanisms and the funds that you have under your responsibility, but also of your colleagues, such as the cohesion funds? How can you, both from the policy point of view, but also the instruments, to tackle this diversity that is so rich of innovation, of different forms of innovation?
Indeed, Maria, there is an evolution from the linear process of research, development, and innovation to a much more complex triangle of research, education, and innovation, with links between these elements. And these three elements should feed one another. We should think on ways for innovators to feed the researchers with challenges that the innovators are funding in their work and that need progress in some science domain. And likewise, education systems should be fed with inputs coming from the innovation world as well as from science. And this is an important change of paradigm, moving from a linear system to a helix system with interactions among these three elements, but also with the fourth element, the civil society. Because for us, it's really important to take all these elements to build a true pan-European ecosystem and drive the innovation agenda for Europe. But these changes in the nature of innovation is also reflected in disruptive innovations appearing in all fields, and startups are emerging as key players. And as I already said it, we are witnessing a next wave of innovation based on deep tech and new combinations of scientific knowledge and technologies. And here the collaboration is our key word. But again, as I already said it, it's very good to talk about synergies, but now we need something really, really concrete. That's why the first thing for me is to ensure internal synergies between the different pillars of Horizon Europe. European Research Council working together with European Innovation Council. Today, it's a very special day for us. We launched our missions and we are proposing a new wave of working together with 8 other commissioners, combining Horizon Europe with structural funds, with cohesion funds. So this time, what I think that we need is more examples, concrete examples, how by bringing together the different available European funds, we can reach our objective and that will be beneficial for our citizens. And I very much hope that we'll be able to continue counting on the support of the European Parliament and the European Internet Forum to co-create this solution, because that's very much needed.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for your answers. And I ask now Maria Rosa to moderate the rest of the debate. Maria Rosa.
I was saying thank you very much. It's been a very interesting exchange to follow, and we're now ready to continue the conversation with a Q&A session with other MEPs that I will invite to join us on screen. But before we do that, let me show you the work of our graphic designer. I'm very curious to see it. He has really tried to capture all the highlights of your exchange. So I think it is a very nice tribute to the work of Commissioner Gabriel. We will, of course, share it on all social media, so you will have it too. Well, we're now ready to welcome our MEPs. We're joined by the EIF Chair, Pilar del Castillo, MEP with the EPP Group from Spain, member of ITRE and AIDA committees in the European Parliament. And Commissioner Gabriel, feel free, please, to answer right away if you wish. Pilar, the floor is yours.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Commissioner. Great pleasure, as always, to have you here in the EIF again. Well, you have developed a very nice and very well systematically conducted explanation on how things were and how things should be now in the context of the 21st century and 2021. So this new pan-European innovation ecosystem, which has the main feature of being horizontal, compared to the more vertical one that we found in the past. You have really made an excellent explanation, and I want to congratulate you. At the same time, I think we can add another piece to the reflection, which is we can say pan-European innovation ecosystem and beyond. The beyond what could be the transatlantic dimension that we have facing us as well in research and innovation. My question indeed is related to one of today's hot topics, the first meeting of the transatlantic trade and Technology Council that it is right now taking place in Pittsburgh, as you know. And also, as all we know, the EU-US Summit of the 15th of June launched the TTC in order to coordinate approaches to global trade, economic, and technology issues. In this context, two of the main goals that was clearly specified in the memorandum of the Tech Council, it is that they have to give support to collaborative research and promote innovation and leadership by EU and US firms. I would like to listen to your expectation regarding these two goals, expectation for the TTC on research and innovation. It's not only, it could be part of a dream, but it is not something impossible that we tend to create sort of not a pan-European, not a pan-transatlantic, but a transatlantic research and innovation area. In that sense, well, at what extent we have this, the memorandum we find an open list of working groups, very much linked to tech aspects. And I would like to ask if there will be a particular working group for research and innovation that can materialize the political decision in the field and coordinate technical work. So in sum, there are many things related to tech, but they have the goal in theory of research and innovation coordination, but there is not much put in terms of practical terms that can help to develop this new beyond part of the pan-European research innovation ecosystem. So the part of the transatlantic research and innovation area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear Pilar. It's always a pleasure really to think about your questions because they are very pertinent. Yes, I would like to confirm that there is a working group on research innovation, but this time for this meeting in Pittsburgh, there will be no conclusions that are concerning that will concern our work. But we are following very closely this work, and my team is actively participating in this work. I think that now it's really time to have a real coherent common strategy, because we have good examples of collaboration. When we talk about research, I must say that since the beginning of COVID-19, together with United States, at the beginning that was every 15 days after, and now it's every 1 month. We have a meeting with 15 other ministers of research in order to discuss what's about open science, what's about the gathering of data, and how we can really join forces in this common challenge. And I must say that now with the new chief scientific advisor, Eric Lander, we have excellent partnership. By the way, this summer you already have seen that we published an open common letter asking China to cooperate for the second stage of the investigation about COVID-19. The second good example that we have with them is linked to innovation. It's our mission innovation. I'm not sure that there is so much information about this mission innovation, but that's an excellent example of our cooperation with United States. And the topic is a topic that is a priority for all of us, clean energy. So I very much hope that in Glasgow for the COP26, there will be a new occasion for us and United States to renew our engagement and to continue to work together in this topic. So as I already mentioned, we have good examples, but together with my team in the framework of the working group dedicated to research innovation, we'll not only follow closely the discussions, but that's our intention now to work for a coherent strategy, identifying our strengths and seeing what are the fields where we can better join forces. For sure, in some other fields, we have really to preserve our own European strategic interest. And I would like really to stay very pragmatic, because on somehow we have now the Horizon Europe program, and thanks to the European Parliament, it's really a strong base to protect our strategic interest. But on the other side, the program is extremely open. That's a symbol of openness, and for sure, United States and the transatlantic dialogue is our biggest priority.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to listen to you and to see how much you are engaged as well in this transatlantic dimension. I think that for sure joint forces is absolutely indispensable, is key in terms of in the case as well of research and innovation are key areas in terms of the competitiveness of the European economy. So congratulations and go on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pilar, for joining us. Thank you very much. We're now joined by Sabine Verheyen MEP with the EPP Group from Germany, EIF Steering Committee Member and Chair of the CULT Committee. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Maria Rosa, for giving me the floor, and thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner Mariya, that you joined us today with the discussion, that you gave us a really very structured and very good oversight of the plans of the Commission. And I was very, very happy to hear from you that it's not just STEM but STEAM that we have to push forward when it comes to education. As CULT Committee Chair, it's clear that I love to hear the STEAM approach and not the STEM approach, because innovation has also to do with creativity, with arts sometimes too. And as we have it with the new European Bauhaus initiative, which should bring innovation to the building sector, but not just to the building sector, but to the whole approach, how we will live in future, to combine in a horizontal approach the artistic elements, the cultural elements, societal elements with new technologies and city planning and building houses. I think that's the way how we can foster innovation in future. But to do this in an adequate way, and I think you already mentioned that, is that we need also changes in the way how we educate people. I think the education systems in the member states are still quite linear in the way of thinking and linear in the way how they approach the education in this different issues. But what we need more is also to have also in the education systems more holistic approaches, more combining of disciplines, more also entrepreneurship ideas when it comes also to higher education, and not just in higher education, but also when it comes to vocational training. And innovation is sometimes also driven by practical work. And how do you support from European side the connection between, for example, universities and handcraft people, people who are working as practitioners in jobs, not with higher education, but in a more basic or vocational education, because I think that's also very important to use the chances of innovation also on this level. Many jobs in future will be more digital. There are new ideas and how perhaps to develop technologies in combining those who are working in practice with with new technologies and those who are developing new technologies. Is there also a kind of program of bringing together the practitioners with the researchers and innovators also on this level? And how can the education system play a role, and how can the arts and culture part, the creative and cultural sector, play a role in bringing new, sometimes perhaps not stupid, but crazy ideas to foster an innovation process, thinking about things a researcher or a practitioner never would think about, that it can be combined.
Thank you very much, dear Sabine, for your question. Well, I must say that I fully believe that the education system has here a crucial role to play. And when we talk about education and New European Bauhaus, I think that we first should continue to be inspired by some of our first awards. Remember, one of the 10 categories, it was the role of education in the New European Bauhaus. By the way, that was a group of students that's completely by hazard I met before. They are proposing a project, Klima Class, and that's extremely inspirational. So we need more projects like this one. That's why I very much hope that with the new European Bauhaus, there will be a new push for more innovation, and this with creativity and cultural sector, because they have this facility to bring new people, fresh ideas, not always with the same usual suspects. And that's what we would like to do. And I very much like now the idea that we have about the annual festival with the 3F. On one side, forum, because we need to continue to discuss. We need to have a fair in order to showcase different technologies, already good practices, and of course to have a fest in order to show our extraordinary cultural and creative diversity and richness. One single concrete example, I fully believe that we need to continue to promote this close work between practitioners and education system. But we know what are our competencies and what are the competencies of the member states. That's why, again, I think that we should continue to lead by example. And we already have a very successful instrument. That's the Digital Opportunity Traineeship. We started this program in 2018. Until now, there is 12,000 students that use this program. And here, that's a platform where enterprises are in direct contact with students. What we changed now, and I think that it's a good news, that we expand this program to vocational education and training, and I think that it will be an excellent opportunity for them. The second element that I would like to raise is how important is the role of teachers. That's why I very much hope that in the first 10 selected projects about our teacher academies, there will be enough engaged people to address this issue. I really don't want to see these projects again repeating the same discussions or forums. I would like really to see them tackling concrete challenges, and this challenge is one of the main that we can't avoid. The third element that I would like to raise is that now with the new Erasmus Plus program, we have this idea to establish a European network of Center of Excellence for vocational education and training. And I must say that there is a lot of ideas how with creativity, with culture, we can use their power in order to push our education system to be more in contact with these people that are on the ground, that know about the problems, but above all, that they know what's about the solution. And I think that we should preserve this approach, bottom-up approach, certainly sometimes very frustrating because that's not our respective competencies sometimes to intervene in different fields. But I believe that if we have enough critical mass of small actions, good examples, and we preserve this ecosystem and bottom-up approach, we have more chances maybe this time to make a difference.
Thank you very much for this approach. And I think to teach the teachers, it's one thing we always say in the CULT committee too, I think is a very important task. Even we cannot do that from European side. We are depending on the activities also in the member states, but to give a push for also innovative ideas in education. Also when it comes to digitization, I think the COVID-19 crisis showed how necessary it is to go new ways and innovative ways also in the education systems, and to use also artificial intelligence tools in the education sector to help teachers to be more innovative, to have a better exchange. And you know that we already talked about a kind of platform with best practice models and content for education, that this would be a wonderful idea for Europe. You know that I would ever support you in this, because I think it is really a very important goal of the European Union to have this exchange, not just physical mobility like in the past, but sustainable exchange also via digital tools to have really a development in the education systems to more creativity, to a more holistic approach. Thank you for the work you are doing in this.
Thank you, Sabine. Just to add that on this IDEON platform, we are advancing very well because the study was launched. Now we have one more month to see what are the main obstacles, but I will continue to put a lot of pressure because for me, EdTech is an completely unexploited potential of Europe, and we need really to pay more attention to this sector. And of course, the second thing, it's about the use of artificial intelligence in education system. It's done. The expert group, the high-level expert group is created 3 months ago. What I asked them, because I was there for their first meeting, and I will meet them very soon, it's really to have concrete recommendations. We know what is our base. We know the added value of our European approach. We know that we should avoid bias, discriminations, but we need to find the right balance between how with digital tools, with artificial intelligence, we can make education more personalized, more interactive, and bring these people that are not spontaneously in the system more closely to us, and at the same time to preserve the human touch and to preserve the role of our teachers. Not an easy task, but I think that we should seize the momentum. And here, I'm making a link with the resilience and recovery facility plans. Our first analysis is showing that our member states, for the first time in our history, will invest 55 billion euro for digital education. If this time we don't seize our chance to make things differently, to make them better, I think that it will be a loss for all of us. And we from my side, together with my team, we are following this very closely, not only to be sure now that this money is here for investment and reforms, but what's about the implementation and the critical mass of common actions that we can transfer and scale to European level in order to help all our teachers and students.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sabine, for joining us. I now welcome MEP Victor Negrescu from the S&D Group, EIF Steering Committee Member and Vice Chair of the CULT Committee. The floor is yours.
Yep. It was very interesting, of course, to listen to you, dear Commissioner. Very interesting perspective, and of course, in the same time, offering a lot of solutions, but also in the same time, underlining the challenges that are in front of us. So therefore, of course, there are two particular issues, of course, that need to be raised, and that they are, of course, complementary to what has been said before. So first of all is the issue of implementation, because we have strategies, we have ideas, but we also have the feeling that we have isolated silos of great ideas, but that are not linked between each other, and that do not offer, let's say, a clear perspective maybe to innovators, but also to countries, because sometimes, of course, we often are facing this issue that we have some countries or some regions that are moving faster and many regions that stay behind. So maybe you can address this issue on how we can, let's say, reduce the gaps at different layers. But in the same time, if we refer to reducing gaps, I have to underline, like I usually do, again, the issue of education, because this was also mentioned by you, that education is the engine for innovation. So I think in this regard, beyond, again, the enormous amount that we have in the recovery plan, is about designing, again, how we see education for innovation, or education about innovation, and how, of course, how we can, of course, focus on excellence, but in the same time, focus on accessibility, and making sure that as many people, as many young people as possible have access to this type of education, but also in the same time have access to entrepreneurial innovation, which is, again, the starting point of everything. So I think maybe you can address this issue of starting point as well, because, again, we often look at the big picture, but, the small things, details count a lot. I know that you are personally committed in doing that, but of course, beyond us that are present here, we also need to involve many people in the process and make sure member states, local communities, civil society, local stakeholders are involved in the process. So I think this is an issue that needs a lot of work, and maybe you can have some inputs on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victor. As always, it's a real pleasure to exchange with you. And you are completely right. And I would like really to claim this loudly. Excellence and access to excellence are the two sides of the same coin. And for me, it's absolutely important. Now, what we need is, of course, some concrete examples. For me, it's absolutely important to work with our regions, with local authorities, and to involve our citizens not only in the discussions for the co-creation, but for the implementation. And I have two examples. First, we decided together with Commissioner Ferreira to tackle this issue of innovation divide. But I don't want to talk about innovation divide. I want to talk about innovation cohesion. We need to change our narrative to be more positive. Here, again, there is a huge need of more concrete actions, because it was good that last year in November, together with the Committee of the Region, for the first time in the history of our two institutions, we agreed on a joint action plan for the next 2 years with 4 main priorities: research, innovation, education, and culture. But what's happened a few months after, I organized a meeting between the mayors of the European capitals of innovation and the European capitals of culture. First time that they met each other. And I think that we need these kind of exchanges. We need a real platform where mayors, local communities, regions can work together. And what we are trying now to do with my team is to expand this platform. It's open not only to the mayors coming from capitals of culture or innovation, but to all the others. And I must say that they were very engaged on the topic of New European Bauhaus and missions. And that brings me to my second point. We have now a good example with our missions, how we would like to engage citizens since the beginning to the implementation. Because in our 5 missions that we announced officially today, we changed our approach. It's a citizen-centered approach. It's up to citizens to feel that these missions are here to make a difference in their daily life. That's why, first, since the beginning, 1.5 years, we designed and we defined together with citizens the priorities of the missions. In the implementation plans, the main actions will be implemented together with citizens. Concrete examples, when we talk about the mission on climate adaptation, we have now this very big ambition to have at least 150 European regions advanced on climate issues by 2030. We are proposing to have, for example, a city climate contracts with citizens. And there is already some good examples. And in all our missions, there is concrete proposals together with them. Of course, I'm aware that with 1, 2, 3 examples, it's not enough. And that's why we should always see this issue as a horizontal issue. And I must say that we started already by building some bridges. And Maria, you addressed this issue, that it's an internal issue too. We need a team-based approach. We need an ecosystem approach everywhere. I again think that we should now put an accent on more examples, more actions, and actions that are after scalable at European level.
Thank you, Commissioner, for taking that into consideration. So I have to mention that I'm in my hometown of Alba Iulia. You see the picture here, but it's 5 hours away from Bucharest, and I meet a lot of local authorities, and for them sometimes, all those ideas seem far away. So I think maybe with your energy, we can and this will be just my suggestion at the end, make the representations of the Commission in countries be more dynamic in promoting those interesting initiatives, because they are not active all the time. And why not also use us as members of the European Parliament and members of the EIF community as, why not, promoters of those initiatives. I'm certain that we are fully available in working with you on that, because the purpose is to make all those great ideas tangible. I think this is one of the most important elements for us, and I'm certain that if we work together, we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Victor. Thank you for joining. The only man, by the way, on this stage today. So speaking of diversity, right? All right, we're running out of time, but we have one more question. I welcome MEP Eva Kaili with us. She's from the S&D Group, EIF Steering Committee member, member of ITRE, and chair of STOA. Welcome, Eva. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much for organizing, Maria, and my colleague here, and also Commissioner. You talked about building role models. As a role model yourself, I think the initiatives you have taken, they are really contributing into reducing this gender gap also, not just women in tech, but also supporting panels where women will be there. And I have the feeling that your work has managed to change the environment. I am invited in conferences where women are more than men usually, and it's not women conferences. So I think this is the impact that these efforts have. And it's good that we recognize that, because we have to keep trying. And if I may, since you mentioned very interesting initiatives, and I have been working, as you know, with Science and Innovation and your support several years now, I've seen the incredible success of EIC, especially with the target of including startups and companies that are women-led, or at least they have women in the board. I saw the numbers. I was impressed. Before you even mentioned them, I was actually trying to find good examples for what Europe succeeded. So my question would be, if I may, so EIC has managed to do that. I believe we need to maybe to work harder into not just having the gender as a priority, but to make sure that all the companies, that even if they don't need to be funded by Europe, by EIC, they will include women in their boards. And this has not been achieved yet. So if there is something more we can do, we would be happy to contribute to that. I believe it's a matter of the country, but still, if we join forces, I think we can achieve that. So if you have some ideas on how we could support your efforts, then since you talked about the centers of excellence, I understand that they would build on what the digital innovation hubs are doing, but still the digital innovation hubs, at least in Greece, from what I know, maybe several other countries, they delayed a lot. It's been 2 years that they were supposed to be launched, and still we have not seen the build up of these ecosystems that I agree they're very important, and they could be useful as to offer also mentoring for startups and companies. And of course innovation and becoming resilient, the old business models to become more resilient through innovation. So I was wondering if you think that the centers of excellence will have to build up on the digital innovation hubs. If this delay, we could overcome this, and if we could see actually to how this ecosystem could start delivering. And then I will agree with the previous colleagues, the geographic inequalities, we still see those. And also the pandemic has acted as a catalyst. We still see some countries and regions, they are struggling to participate in the need of the pandemic to become more digitalized. There, I would like to understand if there is a possibility, since we are developing now digital skills at the European level, to create also content that will be available online, or courses with a certification that could be given to whoever participates and learns coding, for example. Because if we don't have that, then I believe we don't talk about innovation at the extent that we would need. And I think this would be my concerns, how we can basically move faster, and if we could support all your efforts, because we saw already the results. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eva. First, thank you very much for your support on these gender issues. I must say that, yes, we decided together with my team that these rules will be not only applicable to EIC, but in the New Horizon program. Every single institute, research, companies have to have a gender equality plan if they would like to obtain funding from the new program. Believe me, not easy. Some of them use different arguments, but we decided to do it because our wish, it was to send a very strong signal. I'm not sure that all are aware of this novelty, but for us it's clear for the new program, it's one of the main novelties. On the different hubs, you are right. And I must say that here I have a concern because we have the digital innovation hubs. We have ERA hubs. We have Center of Excellence. We'll have the digital education hubs. What I ask my team is to start with a clear mapping. How much hubs we have, in what region, and what they are doing. Because I was already in different regions where there is 3 or 4 hubs, they are doing the same things, and where there is a lack of something, it's here for many time. And I think that our first step, it will be really to start with a clear mapping, to see what are the strengths, and to think about their specialization. But for me, it's sure that access to training should be everywhere. And I think already that this idea is largely shared. On geographical differences, I must say that, again, here it's up to us to make more efforts. The European Parliament is a great ally on this issue. What I ask my team now with the new calls is really to provide the same information at the same time with the same level of quality of the information and the advices. And I must say that we have an example that is making a difference. You know that when we talk about Horizon 2020, 5.6% are going to EU 13 and the rest for EU 15. But now with the European Green Deal call, and because we insisted to have a lot of webinars, to have concrete advices, how to be a candidate, how to make the project, for the first time, this part of Europe is making 14% of participation. So I think that if for the last 20 years it was possible to go from 4 to 5%, and if now in only a few months it was possible to go to 14%, we should be able to accelerate and to have a different pace. But again, for me, it's really important to ensure the same access to the information, the same access to advices, and to have advices that are practical. And of course, here, some of the countries and the regions, we have to be more present with concrete instruments to support them. And I must say that in Horizon Europe program, with the widening part, we have a strong wish really to increase the capacity of some regions and some member states to be more successful in Horizon Europe. Last point, digital certificate, I want to reassure you. This is an ongoing work. We are working on this together with Commissioner Schmidt. And my wish is really to see a result as soon as possible. At least we are pushing a lot together with my team for that.
I would just like to thank for actually seeing the things in the same way, because I thought I was a bit confused. You know, sometimes we try to create new initiatives in order to solve problems, but then we create a very complicated environment. So this mapping would be extremely useful, and I think also specialization, and also the lack of hubs wherever there is they have not been created yet. But I think to have a strong ecosystem, as you mentioned, that could also play the role of mentoring with innovative tools, the existing startup community and SMEs community would be essential if we need to see and revive this ecosystem in Europe. And also the digital certificate sounds very promising, and I'm sure we will not only we will do it because you're committed, but that it would actually contribute, because I think what we learned with this pandemic is that also women that perhaps have more multiple roles, they manage to enter again, and actually sometimes they took the burden of supporting their families in this pandemic. So I think this could actually enhance their toolbox and their skills. It would be amazing. So thank you so much. That I would be happy to follow up, and it's always very useful to listen to you. And I checked the missions. I knew the 4 missions. I will find out what is the 5th again, because you're always
climate adaptation, smart cities, oceans, and soils.
Okay, it was a choice then. Perfect. So I hope we will manage to meet again, because there's always something new that we have to learn about. And thank you, Maria and Maria, also for hosting this event.
Thank you very much, Eva. If I may, Maria Rosa, because it's an important topic about digital certificate and about the recognition of all these sometimes short experiences and trainings that we have. That's why you know that I propose to have a European framework for micro-credentials. I think that it's really greatly time to use this model, because actually there is 110 million Europeans following different online courses, but there is no recognition and how to preserve their motivation, how to talk to reskill and upskill. That's absolutely impossible. But I'm really very glad that we are advancing very well. And our intention by the end of the year is to present this to our ministers.
Thank you very much, Eva, for joining us. Thanks again, Commissioner Gabriel. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. So I wish to thank you very much on behalf of the European Internet Forum, and to MEP Carvalho. The floor is yours now for closing.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to thank Commissioner Mariya Gabriel and also EIF, Maria Rosa, all the colleagues that intervened, Pilar del Castillo, Sabine, Vitor, Eva. Very interesting discussion. In 1 hour, we have discussed the new approach to innovation, transversal, horizontal, ecosystem approach, the diversity in innovation, also with the role of society, the role of arts and culture. And the role of education, very important, and also the need to have a more holistic and more creative approach to education. How to close the gaps, the gender gaps, role models was very much mentioned, and also the innovation cohesion, not the innovation divided, I registered. Also the issue of implementation, how to implement all these strategies, and accessibility, and the importance of looking outside Europe and the transatlantic cooperation in research and innovation. So, and we did it in 1 hour and with quite detail and a lot of content. So thank you very much. I learned a lot, like Eva, we always learn when we listen to you, Commissioner, and it's a pleasure to learn. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.